All right, I'm gaveling the Budget and Finance Committee to order. Today is Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. A roll call vote. Mr. Abdu? Just lost him. We don't have a quorum right now, so we can't start the meeting. As a reminder to those who may be watching this budget committee, we need 3 members to have a quorum to be able to make decisions and to enact or be able to move on any item. And I know that I've had some technical difficulties a little bit earlier, and I think Mr. Abdu, who was with us just a moment ago, we just lost him. It's been having some issues. So please, we haven't started the meeting yet. So just bear with us until I gavel us into order and do a roll call vote. In the meantime, I'm going to shut my my video, but I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere.
Johnny. All right, we have Mr. LaPlante, Mr. Payano here with us.
Yes, I'm here.
Very good. All right. So now, as I was just saying, Mr. Abdu, we're going to do a roll call vote. Mr. Payano.
I'll vote present.
Perfect. Mr. This is attendance. Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
And I think Mr. Abdu is just now coming on board. Mr. Abdu, are you with us? I know he's jumping in. Mr. Abdu? Roll call vote. Mr. Abdu, are you with us? Are you present?
Abdu, present.
And the chair is present. We have a quorum. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws 30A, Section 18 of the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceeding as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress might do so by using any of the following access locations, which include the Lawrence City Council Facebook page and the Lawrence City Council YouTube page. At this point, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, for all,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice
for all. Thank you, councilors. We only have one item on tonight's agenda. That's document number 28220, the acceptance of a grant from Mass Works Infrastructure Improvement Program for $1,310,000. It was put on the city council agenda by the planning director, Pedro Soto. Mr. Soto, are you with us?
I am.
The floor is yours. What is this money for? And can you talk just a little bit about it?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you, City Council President. Congratulations on the new role. Happy to be with you guys tonight. If I could share my screen, I want to share a. You guys see that? No, blocked, right?
Looks good.
Okay, so this is a MassWorks grant, $1.3 million, $1,310,000. This is to support the Island Parkside Infrastructure Improvement Project. And just as a reminder, hold on, I'm busy, okay? Sorry about that. So just as a reminder, the MassWorks Infrastructure Program is a competitive grant, and one of the things, or a few of the things that it's meant to support is accelerated housing production that can spur private development and create jobs. So we think we're doing that with, obviously because we got the award, we're aiming to do that. The focus of this project is to construct vehicular and pedestrian connections between Island Street, the new housing development that we're partnering with Lawrence Community Works to facilitate their project. These connections are going to connect, kind of, if you can think of the general area around the General Hospital with the Ferris Park and the green recreational area along the Merrimack River, is going to make really good connections, both pedestrian and vehicular connections. The part that we're leveraging, or because the infrastructure is being built, it will allow these other things to really take shape. We're going to be leveraging 80 units, $27 million project. And all of the units here, and I'm just kind of reading off here, all of the units are going to be for families making 60% of the area median income or below. And 32 of those units will be for families making 30 AMI or below. One of the things that we're really excited about is, hold on 1 second. Hard to navigate this thing going back. Okay. So one of the things that we're really excited about is this, the transformation of this former industrial building, which you guys may know as a dye works building. It's about 35,000 square feet. And we're excited about a Latin American supermarket to anchor the site. And if I zoom out a little bit beyond the site, this area, this parcel is it's located in the heart of what we call a food desert. So in an urban area, if you're more than 2 miles away from a supermarket, you're in a food market, so you're food insecure. And it becomes harder for people that don't have vehicles to access healthy foods at an affordable price. So this is just in a great area to provide that resource, that amenity to not only folks that are going to live and families that are going to live at this new development, but also the general area. Folks can walk into the site and get healthy food. The expected delivery, phase 1 of the development is fully funded and permitted. And I think it's a spring 21, summer 21 construction. And then phase 2 will begin the permitting in 21. We don't know exactly when, but hopefully this year we can finalize that. So here is a concept drawing we have to the north. Hold on 1 second. Buddy, you mind going? Okay. So to the north here on the North Canal, we have the Lawrence General Hospital site. Just to kind of orient us, Ferris Park, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, to the right here, Merrimack River here at the bottom, and Groundwork Lawrence, and the Spigot Brewery is outside of the map area here, but to the left. One of the things that we're excited about is the prospects of really creating infrastructure here that will allow this site here, the Ferris Park, as well as the Merrimack River, to become really accessible to the general public. This site, because the North Canal is between kind of the roadway and the site, it can create kind of this very private feel to this very public amenity. So this infrastructure here, the parking lot and kind of this roundabout and more parking, will make it really clear to the public that this is a public amenity and it's open to the public. And sorry about that. And then the site itself is very permeable. So folks, there's another parking lot here that's already in existence, but the site will be very permeable to pedestrians. So making that, access to public amenities very real. and not just something that becomes kind of a privately held public amenity for the residents that would be on site. So again, a lot of really good things that are being leveraged for the site, and I think it's a great partnership between the city and Lawrence Community Works. With that, I will stop sharing the screen and take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Soto. Let me kick off. Could you put back on the screen that map?
Sure.
Thank you. So I'm not sure you can't see it, but right now, what is where those buildings are intended to go? I'm looking at a quick Google map while you're looking at this, and it looks like there's parking there right now.
Yes. I wonder, I mean, you have that. Would you like to share that on the screen?
It's on my phone, so I guess I'm
it's
doing
on
it.
your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can. So yeah, so it is a parking lot. It is a parking lot. Man, I wish that I had that map pulled up. If you give me one moment, I can pull it up.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second. So let's see.
Counselors, if it's helpful, counselors, we do have the ability to put ourselves on mute back and forth without having the chair unmute. So if you feel like you want to do that, feel free to do so. If you find that helpful.
No. I'm almost done. Okay, buddy? Okay. Let's see here. I usually do a pretty good job during these meetings to hide from the little ones, but they found me today. Okay, here we go. Some of the site is a parking lot. Let's share this here. Hold on 1 second.
We're hearing some background noise. It's a little distracting. If you're not speaking, if you could just put yourself on mute and then certainly unmute yourself when it's time for discussion. Be helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
There you go, Mr. Soto. That's precisely what I'm looking at.
Can we make sure that these images are part of the packet, especially when it goes before a vote at the city council level?
Yes, we can make sure we can do that. So this is the Dye Works building here. And this is another structure that is going to be raised. So most of it is not even being used right now. This is the parking lot area that is being used here. And let me see if we go back here. Again, this is where the structure is, so that'll be raised.
So stop right there, Mr. Soto. Just
Yep.
pin back to where the artist rendering is. Could you just draw but just like pinpoint where the current building is that's going to be raised?
So it's right here in this area here. So if you see this circular path for the Ferris Park,
Yes.
I'll toggle back in a moment, and you can see that in this area, that's where the building is. Let me see if I can toggle that.
So while you're doing that, let's see if you can multitask. I'm going to challenge you a little bit.
Sure.
With with the raising of the building and the creation of these new buildings that are there on top of what is currently some parking, are we losing some parking spaces with this project?
I believe we're gaining parking spaces.
Okay.
So this is the area here, the project area that we discussed. And again, I'm calling out the circular path on Ferris Park.
Yep.
That I talked about.
So I have a better idea now. For my purposes, I've got a little clearer idea. You can go, if you don't mind, if you can go back. There we go to that. And you've answered my question, which was essentially a parking question. What are we doing with parking, and are we losing? And you're saying, as a matter of fact, we're gaining. Can you show me on that map right there where the gain is? Is that on the bottom left? Is that where you're seeing the gain?
That's a really good question. It's actually up here.
Okay.
On the darker gray.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all the parking spaces, plus these parking spaces that'll be directly connected to the circular part here, the path of Ferris Park.
And the shovel to the ground has not happened yet for those two structures, those two new structures, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's not, permitted.
Where do you expect the grocery store to be located? Again, I know you just showed that, but
Yeah,
where?
I can toggle back on that. The grocery store is going to be located in the Dye Works building, and let me actually point that out. It is right here. This is the Dye Works building. It's an abandoned building. It's been secured for some time, but yeah, there are some concerns with the structural integrity of the property, or the building. But so yeah, this will be the anchor, and these will be the new two buildings on site.
Okay.
And parking will be along here on Island Street.
Yep.
And around here.
Can you just go back one more, zoom out just one click? I want to get a little bit more perspective. All right, I just want to see where the Island Street area is.
Like I mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, the Spigot River is right over here. That'll help you get oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Lawrence General Hospital right here, and a huge parking lot where the testing is taking place right here. If folks know where that is. Like I mentioned earlier, there's really two ways to get onto the site, and the North Canal does a really good job of just creating, like, dividing the spaces. I think bodies of water and highways and some other structures do a good job of separating. So we feel that this infrastructure will help the site become a little bit more permeable to the general, folks that live in the general vicinity, as well as, I think mentally folks that are a little further away, once they recognize how easy it is to get onto the site, they'll be more likely to kind of, frequent the site, to take advantage of some of the commercial use there, and the recreational opportunities.
Let me stop you right there. I want to have my colleagues come in as well. I'm sure they've got questions or comments. What is for the money, the $1.3 million I get on that picture that you showed us? That's that square, right? You're going to raise the building that we see right there, and you're going to create some parking on the top side right there. Beyond what we're seeing right there, is that 1.3 million going to anywhere else as part of this project?
No, the MassWorks infrastructure project or grant is really for public infrastructure that'll help. I think I mentioned it. Yeah, so it'll support housing and spur private development and create jobs, but it's really limited to the infrastructure piece. So these little call-out boxes that we have here are really the focus areas, which are it's outlined here in the dotted red line.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the pieces that the money, goes towards advancing.
Right. Let me stop right here and let me open it up to my colleagues who may want to ask a question or make a comment. Is there anybody
Sure.
who wishes to make a comment or question?
Yes, I have a few questions.
Mr. Rodriguez has the floor.
Yes, thank you. Give me 1 second, please. Multitasking here.
How the challenges of modern parenting and work.
So essentially, I would like to go back to the basic.
Sure.
This is a private site that the money is going to be used. Correct.
I'm sorry, Councilor Rodriguez.
Is the
can you
money
repeat
going
the
to be
question?
used on a private site?
The areas that was being used are public.
Okay, can you go back to the picture that it was focusing, and that way I can ask you questions regarding that?
Yes, give me 1 second.
Okay, the yellow sections right here, what is that? Because I can't read anything that is there. What is that? Especially.
Yeah, so these buildings are proposed buildings.
So those are private buildings.
Those will be private buildings, yes.
Okay. So is the money going to be used for the parking lot? And what else you mentioned? Anything within the red dots?
Yeah, everything within the red outlined little dots there.
What's the purpose of the parking there?
So the purpose of this parking?
Yes.
So the purpose of this parking is to service, I think for lack of a better word, the building, as well as the commercial, the supermarket.
Okay.
If you need overflow
So
parking,
let me ask you a
as well
question.
as.
Let me ask you a question. Right
Sure.
now, as it is, if anybody wanted to go ahead and park there, they'd be able to do so. But with this proposal, they want.
Well, there really is no parking outline presently. With this proposal, anybody will be able to park there.
This is a little, to me, to be honest with you, I'm not ready to vote on this today, because what we're doing, we're giving up a partial of the road to serve two specific buildings in the future as a parking.
That's
and I don't think that the
true.
process for this is just approving this $1.3 million, because the section of the parking on top close to the canal, to the North Canal signs right under, that parking lot right there, that's in the street right now that people use to go to the Ferris Park, which basically 4 years ago we adopted our park for people to use, and we took it out of the tax bracket because it was private before. So now we're taking the street off to have that street serve as a parking lot for two private developed buildings.
No, I think that, with all due respect, I think that's a misrepresentation of what the plan is.
Okay, tell me what it is then. I'm all ears.
I can do that. So right now we want to increase access to the Ferris Park.
Okay.
Right. So this plan actually creates more public parking around here, and you still have access to the site. This that's not parking. It's not outlined in white. You can still enter the site. You can still, the street's not going to be blocked off in any meaningful way to block access to the site. If anything, it's going to increase access.
Stop right there where you have your mouse.
Yep.
That parking right there where you have your mouse up, right there.
Yep. This
That's
parking
on
here?
the street right now.
That's not on the street.
What do you mean it is not?
So-
Tell me what it is. That's Canal.
So
That's actually the
Let me toggle over
Island
to.
Street.
I know what you mean, Councilor. So let me toggle
Am I
back here.
confused? Am I looking at something else? That's
So
Island
these are
Street.
you're correct. The new plan does not block access to the site.
Huh?
The new plan does not block access to the site. If you actually look at the existing conditions on Island Street, there's linear parking, which you see here. And if you were to park vehicles
Yes,
along
yes.
here,
Give me 1 second. So exactly where you are right now, that's going to be a parking lot eventually.
so yes, but what I want to point out is people
And,
right
and
now.
let me just ask you a quick question. That parking lot is going to be serving 2 private buildings, which essentially we're
That's
taking
not-
part of the road to become a parking lot with all the proper procedures to actually give up a natural road to serve the buildings. So tell me what I'm misunderstanding.
Okay, so let me cover a few points.
Okay.
So presently, this is the current condition. You see how the vehicles are parked along the roadway.
Mhm.
And let's say if we had vehicles parked from the beginning of that bridge all the way to Ferris Park. and
Yeah,
let's assume that they-
about 15 people can park there right now.
Correct. So the new plan calls for, more parking along the road. The road still exists. People can still traverse over this area and access the site. So we're going to be creating.
So, Mr. Soto, let me go back again to my original question. Is that parking lot that we're improving today are going to be serving those 2 yellow buildings?
I mean, it's a tough question that you're posing here. I think the purpose of this is to increase access to Ferris Park and provide more parking. There's plenty of other parking on site that'll service these other 2 buildings.
Okay, let me ask you a piggyback question on that, but on your statement right now. How many by law, how many parking spots those 2 buildings requires for them to get a permit?
I don't
and
have
be
the answer
able
to that
to
right
raise
now.
those buildings.
I don't have the answer to that. I can get that for you.
Please get that answer for me, because what I'm seeing, as far as I can see with one plan that I have on my screen for a couple of minutes, the only thing that I can see here is that we improving access to the site, but the most beneficiary part of this whole project is going to be the developer that is going to be serving with those 2 going to be serving those 2 yellow buildings with the current parking situation on the area, and that way they don't have to use their own land to be able to build the parking lot. Currently, that's Island Street, and that's going to become a parking lot. And you can tell me, yes, we have access to it, but that's going to become a parking lot that is going to serve 2 private buildings. So let's not lose sight on that.
With all due respect, Councilor, I just don't believe that that's an accurate representation of the scheme of the project. I want to zoom out to the aerial here, and you can see actually how much parking is on site. Excuse me for 1 second. I mean, let's take a look at the site.
Yes.
Quite a bit of parking.
No. Right where you have your mouse, on the picture, it's only showing like maybe less than 15 parking spot. That's going to be enough to actually do the building that you have on yellow. That's not going to be enough if you have 80 units. I believe you need like at least 1 or 2 per unit parkings. So if you told me that we're going to improve access to the site and we're going to be building a parking lot there, that is actually going to serve the yellow buildings, that's not serving the site, that's serving the buildings.
Well, I may have misspoken on that.
Because probably what I'm seeing is that right now it's a very beautiful site for you to go in the afternoon and in the morning, have a picnic there, and have a different side of the city. But essentially, you park when you go to that site. You use the parking lot along the Island Street all the way to the site. So with the current condition that you're presenting in front of us, we're going to be losing from the bridge that is in the middle of Canal Street all the way to the site. So people are going to be very limited to use the site. You're not improving the site if those parking that we're building are not going to be exclusive for the public. So if you told me that the parking lot that is presented going to be serving the actual park and not necessarily the two yellow buildings, and then okay, I get it. But in the meantime, that's not the case.
Well, what I'm trying to represent is that I don't know if there's going to be a mechanism that will prohibit, folks that live in the building from parking there. I think the primary function of that area is to allow the public, you said it yourself, it's a great site for people to kind of get a different view of the city. This is going to improve access and increase access to the site for that very much that same reason. So I don't think, maybe I misspoke in saying, this parking lot will service the buildings. Point I wanted to make is anybody could park there. The general public that does not live on site can park there. And, they're not going to be deeded parking spaces that only people that live on site can use. But it's conceivable that some people that live there could use that site if they wanted to.
Okay,
but I would imagine.
Let's move on to the question. Let me ask you another question in relation to the parking lot. So please find out the amount of parking that is required for those two buildings, and the amount of parking that they're designing that they are on the current design to serve those two buildings.
I can do that.
Because in the way that I see it, is just to serve those two buildings and the way that it's being presented. And obviously it's in conjunction with the actual developer. Let's not
I want to make sure
the developer is actually part of the grant, part of the
this
grant.
is a partnership. I want to make sure that the proposal that I presented is accurate in the way that I'm describing it. Mm-hmm. It's not, let me walk this back. The parking is not exclusive to the residents living in that building. The primary function of that parking area is to increase public access, not only to the commercial section, but also the recreational amenities that exist. They're really good gems along the Merrimack that are used pretty frequently. This will increase access and help build capacity on site. Like we mentioned in the current conditions, there's a linear parking spaces. Probably 50 cars can fit down there. This will help, the way that the parking is going to be set up will help increase the vehicle capacity, as well as pedestrian access.
What you're saying, I mean, it's a great project, to be honest with you. But probably the source of money that we're presenting could be used for a true better access to the site and not necessarily a parking lot. What is the bike path that you have there designed? You don't have it. What is the actual other type of recreation that are going to bring people to the site that is not there? This design that is presented in front of us today, even though we're not going to see it that way, but it's to serve the project. That's so as far as I see, and probably I'm misrepresenting it because I only have one piece of it, one plan that it was on the screen, that it was not even in front of us, and we don't have all the information. But as far as I can see from the screen, that's not serving the site. That's going to better serve the project and not necessarily the site.
One thing that
I probably misspoken on that, but I'm concerned that we're gonna be losing the only access that we have to that site because it's gonna become a parking lot, and eventually, what's gonna happen 10, 20 years from now? Who knows? Who knows? But I know
Councilor,
that I know for sure that it's gonna be on a street, an island street is gonna become a parking lot. That's the way that I see it.
Councilor, I share your concerns. You know, as Director of Planning, one of the primary functions of our office is to ensure that the public has proper access. If a development is coming in, we want to make sure that it fits with the character of the existing neighborhood, and it's not going to, you know, burden quality of life. It'll improve quality of life, and these are one of the things that we look at when we look at these plans. And like I've been mentioning, we consider, you know, Ferris Park a really great gem along the Merrimack. You know, Groundwork Alliance spent a lot of time and planning and making sure that happened, and great partnership with the city. This project is going to increase access to that site. And it's not going to take away from that linear street.
So every time that you mention that, like it's going to increase access to the site. No, it's not. If you're riding a bike and you're going through a parking lot, that is not a safe way to go to you know, it's not good for bikers to go through a parking lot because it's not safe. If you tell me increase access to the site, you're going to be doing all the things, not just a parking lot. Parking lot doesn't mean that. I mean, that we probably change it to all the words. It's going to benefit the project. It's going to benefit the site. For mostly the project, I get it, but I mean, it's not necessarily that. Because it's not. If I decide to go on my bike to that site today, because it's a great hill that I always do during the summer a couple of times, going through a parking lot not going to help because probably somebody going to hit me. Because it's no way for me to go. I have to go through the middle of the parking lot.
One of the things that when this is being designed that was considered was not only vehicular access to the site, but also safety for the pedestrians that live on site, but also, like you're mentioning, kind of live in surrounding areas and access the site through other means, bicycle or walking, jogging, things of that nature. Those are things that were also considered while this was being designed. And I'm not a designer, but you know, we asked a lot of questions like the ones that you're asking. And you know, the standards right now are really skewed towards the pedestrian, right? Where we look at, if we look at Mass DOT or, you know, any other agency, we're really looking at, you know, what are the standards that'll help communities become more pedestrian friendly and, you know, improving kind of bicycle access as well. So these are things that have been considered. And again, I share those concerns with you. Like, these are things that we focus on, you know, in our department. I don't know if I'm missing anything. I don't want to be confrontational or anything, but I want to make sure that I'm representing it correctly.
Not at all. What I'm seeing is that, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, when I decide to go to the park again with my kids that are going to be going, and, you know, I have to go to the middle of a parking that it was on the street before. And now it's a parking lot. So by me asking those questions, I'm essentially thinking about how we're going to be on the future with that situation, because things can be tricky eventually. So my questions will be, and I'm going to
I do want to point out one last thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I just want to make sure that that site, I mean, that site that we are actually approving the money for today is not necessarily going to be part of the actual design of the development in the future. That is going to be separate, because essentially we're taking on a road and we're taking a road and we're taking the actual site to service those two buildings. So my question will be, how much of a parking spot is going to need it for 80 units, and where are those 80 units on the side separate from the Island Street parking lot?
Sure, I can answer those for you, for council. I do want to point out one thing that I have on the screen, which I may have overlooked. If you look at the top left, there's a red call-out box. It does point out the MassWork infrastructure area. There is plan to construct a pedestrian access path in Linear Park from Island Street to Ferris Park. So that first dot that you see here, yes, this is the parking lot, but above that, there is a bike path or walking path that's protected that will lead into the site, as well as another path here. And I know that there's another path down this way here as well. So again, there are, multiple means of access to the site. So you don't have to ride your bike through the parking lot. You can go safely along this path here.
So quick question on the corner, right on the corner, and on the other corner, the opposite. This one, right there, right where you are. Right around where you have your mouth, right there. Is that a physical obstruction, perhaps a sidewalk or curve that is coming down a little bit? If you're coming, yeah, right there. That's an actual curving, / sidewalk on there. Yep.
Are you
right
asking
there, right
me,
there. I'm asking you if that's a sidewalk.
So I can't tell. This is just a concept drawing here, but I know if this is calling out a path, this may be a path going over with a crosswalk here. So ending another path, ending here, crosswalk, and then another sidewalk on the lower half of the parking lot. Continuing on here.
To be honest with you, that's what we're doing is like just taking half of Island Street and putting it for the project, because it's gonna look just like another private site. It's gonna look not like a regular road. It's gonna look like a private site. That's the way I see when the concept drawing that you presented.
Okay.
So, Councilor, thank you, Councilor. You made some outstanding points, actually, and Mr. Soto, I know you're trying to defend it and to the best that you can. And I want to know if there's any other councilors who also wish to speak on this matter.
I do.
Mr. Piano.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. So just a quick question. I think you mentioned it before. How many parking spots are specifically for the park right now?
I'd have to go like right now, current conditions.
Correct.
I don't have the actual count, but we have an estimate of around 50 parking spaces where vehicles can park along Island Street.
Okay. So, my next question is why is there a need for more to increase the parking in that area? Like every time that I've been there, I have never seen, it's never looked packed. So I'm just trying to figure out, like why do we find that there's a need? Is it that, perhaps, again, this is all anecdotal because it's like, maybe I'm going at the wrong times or, on the wrong days. So can you describe like sort of like where the need is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, part of the goals of the MassWork program really is to unlock more economic opportunity, right? So help spur housing, private investment, and, right now when you go to the site, it's very, it's not very accessible, right? So there's a whole section that, that building is right now. It might be not inviting to some folks that visit the site. So in redeveloping the site or this particular area and increasing, the parking spaces, it creates a more inviting space and help leverage that development. So let's say that we did not do this. Let's say this part, the parking lot and access to the site wasn't part of the development. It'd be really hard for the developer to, put in the infrastructure as it is designed right now. It's just really costly to do. It's a nonprofit developer that's doing the scheme, and they a lot of times rely on tax credits to make the project work. And because of the economic downturn in that market due to COVID, the value of those tax credits significantly went down. So this portion of the project and building the infrastructure that supports, the buildings, the infrastructure really helps leverage or create an opportunity to actually build that. So another piece that I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were on, Councilor. There's a 35,000 square foot Latin American grocery store that's going to be anchoring the site. So again, this is another, you can picture a family, going grocery shopping and allowing the kids to kind of go to the park and kind of run around while they're doing, the shopping. I get we can think of a lot of scenarios like that, but
I'll interrupt. What's the name of the grocery shop?
We don't have that information.
Okay. So is the grocery shop conjecture, or is you have information saying it's going to be a grocery shop there?
We have information.
Oh, there might be a grocery shop there.
No, it's not might. It's and we know that the developer is in active conversations with a grocery chain that serves Latin American communities, and that information is not public. It's just a private matter that they're working out.
Okay. All right.
And I apologize. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, I think I have an idea. I'm still kind of, the part that I don't quite understand is the how more parking space creates more accessibility. I think if the question was like, there's some parks in Lawrence that they get packed, and I could see, potentially like, if it was for example, more parking space for some of the parks that we have on Lawrence Street or at the stadium or something like that. I could see how those parks would require a lot more parking space. For this particular park, I haven't necessarily had a sense of that. And I could be again, like, I'm just using sort of like anecdotal data just based on my own personal experience, and it could be that I'm just not seeing it at its fullest. It sounds like that this is sort of like aspirational, like, what we're saying is that if we have more parking spaces, that more people would go to it, which to me sounds a little off, but I think I kind of see where the thought frame was. So I appreciate for your presentation. So thank you.
You're welcome. And just one last point, Councilor. I think in a lot of ways, development, it's kind of like a chicken or egg situation, right? Where if you build it, they will come. There's probably people that frequent that site that know there's limited parking. They know how to get onto site. But if it became more of a destination to the surrounding community, folks living on site, they now know that it's really easy to find parking, really well lit. There's a development there, right? So there's more activity, there's more eyes on the street. What they like to say in planning, the more people that are around, the more desirable an area becomes. So in a lot of ways, it'll be more frequented because there's more people there.
Yeah, no, Director, that does make sense, but I would say that there's a lot of parking there already. Like I haven't heard from you that there's essentially has been a call for more parking. I would agree that if it was better lit, if it looked nicer, if the park itself had more features that would attract more people, like those type of things, I can see really bringing more folks in. I'm just not sure if more parking for this particular park is it. But maybe it is, and I welcome more information to that fact. And if possible, if you can send, I know I asked for images, but if you can send your PowerPoint to us as well, that would be great. I think sometimes when, going through some of these projects, as much information that we have as possible, like would definitely be better. I did get the two letters that were sent, but I think you've provided a lot of information that has been great, and I would have loved to been able to sort of like go through that, this week. But thank you again for the info you provided.
No, you're welcome.
Are there any other comments or questions or a motion?
I have a question.
Mr. Rodriguez?
So, Mr. Soto, can you please provide us with an actual program or an actual plan that is going to ensure that the people are going to be able to access to the site, and when they access to the site, how are we going to ensure that that parking lot is not full all the time from the buildings, from people living in the building?
So my initial response is, we'd have to get in touch with, I'm trying to think how we would, it's so early right now in the development. Part of this is not even permitted.
Yes, but I mean,
so I'm trying to think of.
But Mr. Soto, I mean, the development is early, but the acceptance of the grant for that improvement is not. So we have to make sure that if we accept this grant, to be able to do that, to do this project, have nothing to do with what's going to happen in the future with the development. I mean, we as a city, as a community, have to ensure that we're serving the people, not the developer, perhaps. So if we don't have those answers today, once that development goes up and we don't have a plan, what's going to happen is that we're not going to be able to ensure that the people from Lawrence Street going to be able to go to the site and find a parking spot.
No, I appreciate all that. I'm just trying to think of what mechanism you can use right now in this early stage to ensure what you're trying to protect. I think, when it goes before planning, and other permitting bodies, I think we can ask for something formal. I have to think about that. I don't know what mechanism we can use right now, but we can certainly provide kind of a plan to help ensure that it is.
Okay. So and like I said, just go up there and provide me with a few things. The parking that is required for those two buildings to go up, and where they're going to have those. And if they have a separate, then what we discussing today, perfect. If they don't, and then the parking is going to be serving the project. If that's something that I personally wouldn't like to see. And another thing that I would like to see is how restricted this grant is in terms of using it for perhaps other needs.
So,
or if the money is driven and directed to that specific site.
This is a competitive grant that we put together a couple months ago. I should point out that it is a reimbursement. We're not receiving a check for 1.3. We are expending that and getting reimbursed from the state. So that's one thing. This money can't be reprogrammed for some other perceived need. It really was dedicated for this project to support the development, to support public infrastructure for the benefit of the public. So I don't know if that answers both those questions, but.
No, actually not. But I mean, go back and go to the office and you think about it. So the reason that I keep on asking those questions is because I would love to see a walkable city in the city of Lawrence.
I'm sorry, I
City of
didn't
Lawrence
hear you.
So the reason that I'm asking those questions is because at some point I would love the city of Lawrence to become a walkable city. That
I
you
love
can
that too.
walk and you can go around and having different developments, not an issue, but I mean using these type of grants that are probably very competitive to the purpose of having a walkable city is it's a lot better than what we're doing or focusing currently. But I mean, at some point we're gonna get there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Again, is there anybody else that wishes to speak or make a motion on that? See, Mr. Abdu's hand is up. Mr. Abdu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Soto, for the presentation this evening and answering the questions that you've answered. I want to start with a comment and then ask a question or two. I believe the reuse of the site until this point has been as good as it can be. It's a former brownfield site. It makes for great passive recreation. However, I find it to be isolated, despite the new bridge that was built a few years ago over the canal. I think its utilization is probably not as optimal as it could be. And I am hopeful based on, my history, my knowledge of the MassWorks grant. They leverage public dollars to encourage private investment. I'm not aware of what further housing is necessary in this area, but certainly a market would be desired, and I applaud the effort to get someone to come in here and spec and consider a full service market, if indeed that's what this will be. So my question is this: is the developer, do we have an agreement with the developer, or is it still a negotiation?
Councilor, when you say agreement, what do you mean by that?
So there's various levels of agreement. I'm not trying to box you in, but do we have an initial agreement? Do we have anything binding, or can this developer back out? Obviously, actually, let me rephrase that, because I know at any point, based on the due diligence, they could back out. Have we passed that point of due diligence that I think it's along the lines of what my colleagues were asking about the market. I do understand that the name of a market can't be shared for various reasons, but the certainty that we will have a mixed use development here, housing and hopefully food retail or similar.
Yeah, I think that we have a strong commitment from that developer. The market conditions right now with the current pandemic actually increases the need for more reliable food, and in the area we know that there is a market demand because it is a food desert in the general vicinity. I do not have written contracts or leases that have been signed or anything like that. But we do know that the developer has done a lot of work in Lawrence Community Works.
So the developer is Lawrence Community Works?
Yes. So
okay.
We know that they have a strong commitment to the city. It's not, obviously developers want to be profitable. Their main function really is to create housing and other public amenities that really service the need in the community. So we're hopeful that with that, continued partnership that they'll be here and make it happen. Instances where we have seen developers change particular pieces of their project have been commercial in nature that flipped to residential. you know, we look at that grocery store as an important anchor to make the residential work at that site and kind of in the perimeter of the site as well. So we feel that, you know, it's an important piece of the project.
Well, just so I'm clear, I'm not necessarily supportive of the housing component of this development, but yet I don't know a lot of the details, and I set that aside. I do see this MassWorks grant as accomplishing the goal as to why the Commonwealth does give us these opportunities to leverage monies for private investment and to access lands that are otherwise either landlocked or significantly isolated, which I do believe this is. And so I have no further questions. I'm good. Thank you for the answers on the developer, and I look forward to more detail regarding the potential development of residential and other development of the site.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Soto.
So the floor is, Mr. Rodriguez, yes, you want to say one more?
Yes, just one last question before I make a motion. What is the supermarket is going to be exactly? Can you point that out on the map, please, Mr. Soto?
Yes, give me one moment. So can you see my screen there?
Yes.
Yes.
So the project area is right here.
Yep.
And this is the dye works building here. This is where the grocery store is going to be anchoring the site.
Okay. What is that? What is 50 Island Street right now?
We have Groundwork Lawrence. I don't know if
No,
you know where
I
they're
mean
located.
on the map.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. It's right here.
So that's 50 Island. What is 60 Island is towards the front, and this is where an actual building is right now, right?
There's a building right here. Yep.
But it's a housing, it's a building that actual people live there, right?
Oh, yeah. This is the housing development here. This is Union Crossing.
Okay. And the other side is commercial.
Yep. This is yeah. If you can think of the Spigot River brewery right here. Yep. And more commercial spaces here. And Bell Tower.
Right next to that to Island Street, Union Crossing, down on the bottom, down here. No, right there, right next to it, where the supermarket is gonna go. What is that? What is currently there?
Are you speaking to the left here?
No. To where the supermarket is gonna be.
So currently, are you saying what's in the use right here?
Yes.
So it's actually a vacant commercial building.
It's a vacant commercial. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Councilors, I would like to get more information on. I would like to get more information on this. As far as I'm concerned, I'm seeing the project, but I'm also seeing the street being developed as a parking lot for the future, and I would like to make a motion to table at this level until we get more information.
Councilor, before you make that motion, I will honor that motion. I just like to say one more thing, because at some point I may not be able to offer an official opinion when this goes to the full council.
Sure.
Would you be willing to take that back? I'll circle back to you in a moment. I think that the councilor from District D is making some outstanding points, and I want to applaud him for bringing those things out. I think that there needs to be more thought with respect to the impacts, not only today or when this thing first develops, but impacts down the road 20, 30, 40 years when a new development goes down there and the parking situation is really going to potentially shift. to that parking not being necessarily for the fair site users of the park, but actually, as the counselor said, for the folks who are living in there, because it's going to be very difficult to be able to limit public spaces such as that and say you cannot park there. I see that on Merrimack Street all the time. People are going to park with the easiest place they can possibly park. They have the easiest walk to where they need to go. We see it all the time at the grocery stores, right? You park as close as you can. No one parks far away. They want to park as close as you can. And we're going to see that dynamic again play out. And I just don't know how that's going to play. And that's one comment. The second comment is the concern, of course, with again having more housing units in the documents, Mr. Soto, that you sent to us, and thank you for sending them. We talked about how many low affordable housing development units that are going to be over there, 80 units that are going to be presented in that location. And I'm not going to repeat all the arguments that I've made in the past. I've worn it well, and I think everybody on the committee knows my position on that. What I will say, though, in support of it, though, I will say that the grocery store aspect of it is absolutely critical. My question to you, Mr. Soto, is how dependent is this money to get a grocery store when we all know that the grocery stores are so desperately needed in our city, and we already have a lot of people that are already living in that area? I could, I guess, make the argument, and I want to get your reaction, that we don't need to get 80 more units there to have a profitable grocery store with plenty of parking at the dye company. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my initial reaction, Councilor, is that I don't believe that the tenants at that site are going to be supporting the bottom line. They're not going to make or break the bottom line for that particular establishment. I think, to the contrary, there's, like I mentioned earlier, the whole area is a food desert. I wish I had a map that I can kind of point out where the boundaries of that would be set. But folks that live in the area have a hard time accessing healthy foods that are affordable. So if we make the site more accessible to pedestrians, you can picture residents that don't have a vehicle can make an easy walk 2 or 3 blocks down the road with their cart and have access to really nutritious food at a really good price that's culturally appropriate, because it's a Latin American grocery store. So I guess my reaction is that I don't think that the bottom line for that particular business is dependent on the residential pieces. It's really meant to service the whole area.
Okay, well said. It kind of buttresses where I'm thinking, but I appreciate that. And thank you for that. You've answered some difficult questions tonight. I've been watching, and I know you're doing the best that you can to try to provide the councilors with information. You've heard from one of my colleagues who's asked, and I think rightfully, if we could be if you're able to provide more information earlier. That PowerPoint presentation was very useful, and some of my colleagues rightfully are asking if we can get some of these things sooner rather than later, so that when they hit the ground running at these meetings, they're more informed and able to help perhaps provide a greater input or questions during this discussion. So if just in the future, if you're able to, please see if you can get that over to us. But you have sent some information, and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think Councilor Rodriguez, you made a, pardon me?
No, absolutely. I can do that. Move forward.
We appreciate. Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, did you want to entertain a motion at this point?
Yes, please. Motion to table.
Motion to table, is that your motion?
Yes.
Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Payano, and there's no discussion on a motion to table. I'll call there's no motion, There's no discussion on a motion to table. So I'll call the roll. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Payano?
Yes.
Mr. Abdu?
Yes.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. The chair votes yes. The motion is tabled. Mr. Soto, it's going to stay in this committee. It can be taken up at any time. So the sooner you get the information to our colleagues that may provide them more detail, so that they can then make a vote, either up or down, sending up, that'd be appreciated. But it stays here. It's not defeated, and they're just looking for more information. But I do appreciate that.
Very good.
All right.
And how administratively, how should I submit that just to city clerk and he'll get that to you, or do you want these directly, or how should we go about it?
I think the most effective way to do it, Mr. Soto, is if you have all of our addresses to the committee members, if you have anything to add to it, do so. We have our recording secretary, that's with Ms. Halloran, and it would be her responsibility that whatever you sent to us is inserted into the council agenda when it goes up to the full council, so all the colleagues have a chance to take a look at it. So that's the best practice on that.
Okay. Just so I make sure I understand this, I'll prepare something that answers all these questions. I'll submit it to all of the members here, as well as city clerk, so to submit to the rest of the body. So on the 19th, is that, I'll go to the 19th meeting? What's the process?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So right now, this is staying at the Budget and Finance. It has not advanced up to the full council on the 19th. So it's staying here. So you certainly have several options. You can certainly send it to, as I just mentioned, to all the members of the committee to make sure the committee has it. You certainly can also include the city clerk. You also can certainly include all the councils if you so wish. There's nothing wrong with including everybody. But the main folks at this point who are really looking at it more intently is the committee. And they're going to give a recommendation of some sort, perhaps after reviewing your information, either favorable, unfavorable, etc. So does that help?
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
Ray, you're welcome. And thank you so much. So before we adjourn this evening, I just wanted to call one more thing that it was a mild oversight. We do have minutes from August 26th that was sent to us this afternoon. If there's anybody who wishes I'll entertain a motion to adopt those minutes. Motion made by Mr. Payano. Is there a second?
What was the item? Sorry.
Sure. There were minutes that were sent to us this afternoon for the August 26th meeting. So we're catching up. So there's been a backlog.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Abdu?
Present.
Mr. Payano?
Yes.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. The motion carries. If there's no other business tonight before the committee, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Payano, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Payano?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Abdu?
Yes.
The chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you very much. We do have a full city council meeting on Tuesday at 6:30. Mr. Payano, I've got you on the horn. Can you give me a call after this meeting? I'd love to talk to you.
Sure.
Thank you, councilors. Have a great
Hey,
night.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.